Welcome to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, where we talk all things good food, good business, and good cars. And now, here is your host, Arnold Gasita, founder and CEO of Petra Automotive Products. Let's roll.
I'll tell you what, I'm excited about this episode. We are at Treehouse Cafe in Magnolia in a literal treehouse with a tree, a real tree, not a fake tree, growing here in the middle of this restaurant, this part of this Treehouse Cafe. Our guest is Mike Kelton, the owner. Mike, thanks for being on.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it.
I appreciate having me on.
Well, my wife and I come here all the time to eat breakfast. We bring people here all the time to eat breakfast.
That.
We love the place. Thank you for doing this for us. Yeah. Mike, we always like to start out with a couple fun things. Okay? Your dream car. What is the car that Mike wants in the Mike Kelton Museum one day?
It's a 72 Chevelle. I actually have one.
Okay.
I'm in the process of restoring it right now. So it's supposed to be ready this week. At my other restaurant, we do a monthly car meetup on the first Saturday of the month. And so I hope to have it for that meetup. So,
is that meetup older cars or all kinds of?
It's pretty much all kinds of cars and bikes. We do cars and bikes. It's the first Saturday of the month, from 8 to 10:30, and it's at Hunger Crush Cafe over on 105.
Mike, I'm a car guy. You gotta invite me.
Well, then come on, bring it on out. Well, we have a lot of old cars because we call it Bikes, Classics, and Coffee. But we've had some expensive cars there as well, and we even had a young man bring his old Ford Ranger, and it wasn't fixed up or anything. It was just old, and he said, "Well, this is a classic." Yep, line it up, man. It's no problem. So 72 Chevelle for me. When I was in high school, I drove a Chevelle. I didn't have the greatest childhood, so I spent a ton of time in the car, under the car, around the car, out with my friends. So as I got older, that was really the purchase I wanted to make. And when I made the purchase, I was surprised at how emotional of a purchase it was.
I bet. I mean, I've interviewed people that grew up with a car, like had their first car, their first date, their first, ride, whatever, and they go back and buy it or have it, and they get teary eyed. It's a very emotional, sentimental thing, especially when you're talking about something you had as you were growing up, And it was part of you. When did you buy it again?
About 5 years ago.
Okay.
And I've been in the process of restoration since.
Yeah.
A little bit more heavily the last couple of years, and it's just about almost ready.
Are you doing it, or are you having somebody do it?
I have somebody else working on it.
I would do the same thing. I would be like, okay.
I've worked on cars. Obviously, when I was young, I used to work on my car, but I have anywhere near the knowledge and expertise that some of these guys do. And really, the hard part is the body work and all that stuff, getting the lines right and getting everything straight. And I can't do any of that. So
I'm with you. I got a friend of mine that buys cars like that in Dallas, and he puts it in his garage, and I don't know, spend a year or two restoring them little by little, piece by piece. It's not his job, he does it on the side. It's his. Yeah. It's his release, and so
that's my retirement goal. Is to
do that,
to have a place with a big shop, and have enough room for a couple of cars, and just kind of be working on them, and that's heaven to me. So
that's great. That's great. All right, of all the places you've traveled, what's your favorite?
Probably there's a lot. I'm retired from the wine business, so I had the opportunity to spend quite a bit of time in Europe and South America. My favorite place is probably Belize. Number 2 would be Costa Rica. I spent 30 years in the wine business, great industry, great career, but it can get a little pretentious, and, having lived that process, I like a more simple life and environment. Belize is just so laid back, and the people are so laid back. I've heard
that about, Belize is a place that I have not gone to. I've gone to Costa Rica, so I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But I've heard Belize has been named a lot more lately.
Yeah, it's growing. They're building out there, but there's still places where you can just go and just chill out and relax, and that's what I love about it. Cancun is beautiful. It's easy to get to, but it's when you get off property, it's challenging. You get bombarded for people wanting to sell you stuff, and I get it. And I always support the local economy whenever I travel, but in Belize it's not like that. There's maybe a few vendors on the beach, and if you walk by and you show an interest, then they'll talk to you, but they really don't hound you, and you can just walk off property anywhere and just feel safe. There's no issues where And I like that. So,
Yeah, I need to try it out.
Yeah,
I need to try it
I
out.
highly recommend it. But it's completely laid back. If you're into luxury, that's not really the place. It's chill. So, yeah.
So you go to the beach and you're on the beach.
You're on the beach.
You're just reading a book, relaxing.
Yeah, I'll go do some fishing, do snorkeling, or go diving, But that's really about it. There's great snorkeling there. It's one of the best reefs this side of the Great Barrier Reef. It's very, very shallow, so you don't even have to dive. You can just snorkel on the reef, see amazing wildlife.
Well, I got another friend that's from Belize. We interviewed him in Kentucky, and so he's going to be happy that we plugged his country.
Yeah. I love it there. I think, from my travels in the wine business, I fell in love with Florence, Italy. We sold a lot of Italian wine in my previous industry.
Been there too. That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's my favorite country in Europe. And I have some connections there. A couple of the wineries that I used to represent, I'm still friends with them, and they make it a great experience for us when we go or when I go. And so that I'm pretty fond of Florence. Budapest.
What about a place that you have not gone to that you want to go?
I would love to go to Panama. Panama's probably the next one for me. Peru would be great. Ecuador, I think, would be great. For me, I've done some research on Panama, and I'm comfortable with going there. With Peru and Ecuador, I still want to kind of figure it out a little bit.
Ecuador's getting better. Ecuador, I believe, right now is rated like 1 or 2 in chocolates.
Oh, really?
So in the restaurant business, if you go to Ecuador, you may want to do like a chocolate tour or whatever, because they're really getting big on chocolate. So just that. Panama, you obviously got to go see the Panama Canal.
Right.
Something that was built in the early 1900s that you sit there and you go, unbelievable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 1900s with limited tools.
Right.
Nobody could figure this out. The Americans come in and it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing I really think I saw in Panama. I mean, we were there for business, but that's, I mean, you need to see that.
I definitely would definitely go see that, but then I would probably go to eastern side of Panama, where it's a little more
Populated.
remote. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
I see what you want the true.
Yeah.
I'm away from everything,
Yes.
and I'm going to relax.
Correct.
Kind of a thing.
Yes.
All right. What's your favorite food?
Oh gosh, I love food. I love to eat. I would have to say probably Italian. I love like wood-fired or coal-fired pizza. Yeah, I'd have to say probably Italian. And
That should be your next place. We need a pizza place.
yeah,
here, by the way.
that's actually a goal of mine or a desire of mine, and it's really what sparked me to purchase Treehouse Cafe. So I had opened up Sweet Paris Creperie in the Woodlands. That was my first restaurant, and then we opened up the one in Austin in 2020, mid-COVID, and we struggled. We lost money in Austin for the first year. We lost probably about $70,000. My desire was, after getting that one open and generating some cash flow, was to create an Italian format like Sweet Paris. So at Sweet Paris, the crepe crafters are out front behind the glass, and customers walk along the order line and they can watch them make the crepes, and it's really a cool focal point. So I'd like to do the same thing, but may have the brick oven as the focal point, and we would do everything in the oven. There's a great restaurant in Austin called Desano Pizza that is similar to that. It's a little bit different look and feel, because I still want the same kind of nice feel and look that Sweet Paris does. But that would be, if I had a pet restaurant, that would be what I would do next.
All right, we'll do it.
Okay. I'll work on it.
So, Mike, where were you born?
I was born in Ames, Iowa, in the Midwest. My father was a microbiologist. He did research for the USDA. He started in Philadelphia, where he got his PhD from Penn State. He went to Amherst College in Philadelphia. My 2 oldest siblings were born at Amherst College. My other sister was born, then got transferred to Iowa State, where my younger brother and I were born. And then he had had enough of the snow. Says, I want to go to Texas, and a position came open at Texas A&M, which is an ag college. And so we moved to Bryan College Station area when I was 7, and I grew up there and went to school.
So really you went to elementary, junior high, and high school.
I grew up in
College
Bryan. I'm
Station.
as much Texan as I can be without being born in Texas.
Did you go to A&M?
I did, yeah. I was there in 82 and 83.
So you're an Aggie.
Yes, sir.
That's a cult. You know that, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's like drink the
Yeah.
purple Kool-Aid. And
Yeah.
I tell people all the time, I said, if you can get an education at A&M, you should get an education at A&M, because A&M will hire A&M all day long. I think those
It's a
are
brotherhood, man. It's
unbelievable.
Yeah.
I think anybody that went to A&M will never not have a job.
Yep. Exactly right. And it's the friendliest campus. I mean, everywhere you go, everybody's saying howdy to you, and they mean it. It's genuine. So I love the campus there.
So you move to College Station, Bryan College Station.
Yep.
You do your elementary, junior high school. Yeah. You end up going to college there at A&M.
Yeah.
What did you study?
My major when I first enrolled at A&M was aerospace engineering. So
wow.
I played sports all my life growing up. Primarily baseball. That was my favorite sport. I played a lot of golf, played some football, played a little basketball, but I'm pretty short, so that didn't go over very well. So baseball was my main focus, and we didn't have the greatest baseball program at Bryan High School at the time, and so my desire was to fly jets, and so A&M aerospace engineering. Well, it was tough. It put a whooping on me, and I didn't have 20/20 vision, so I wouldn't be able to fly, and so I kind of rethought that whole process. Stepped out of school for a little bit, started working, got engaged, started a family, and that's what sparked me getting into the wine business.
So what was your degree?
My degree is in business management. I finished it while I was in the wine business. I went back and went to night school and finished my degree.
So you go to college, A&M, you finish it later when you're working. Mm-hmm. So you meet your wife and you decide to leave school and get a job. You go straight to the wine business?
No, I started in retail for about a year and a half. It was not the greatest money, but I had a young baby, so
right.
and the sales rep that called on me at my account, he and I became friends. And he said, "Hey, you interested in a wine job?" And I said, "Yeah, sure." And interviewed for the position. I started out as a trainee and a merchandiser. Merchandiser is the one that goes and digs all the wine out of the back and puts it out on the floor and all that kind of stuff. So it was a lot of work. I picked up
like a stalker.
Yeah, basically, yeah, it's exactly what it is. Started my first territory probably just a couple of months after that, and I had all the little mom and pops and. I had 150 accounts and, drove all over the place. And then it just kind of escalated. I found success, got promoted. Was the first level manager.
Not to cut you off, but this is the best part of it.
Yeah, so we have some food.
Got a little food for you guys.
Bonfire
Got our house-made
burger.
chicken fried steak. We got our famous bonfire burger and our Magnolia breakfast that people love.
I love it. I love it. We'll get some silverware here and eat here in a minute.
Yeah. So the chicken fried steak, we start with cutlet from 44 Farms, fresh cutlet. We pound it here, we tenderize it, marinate it, then we double hand bread it here in house. This is
of all the things I've had here, I don't think I've ever had that, and that looks phenomenal.
Yeah. Well, you might enjoy it.
Yeah, that looks really good.
Yeah.
And then obviously an Magnolia omelet has what in it? It looks like sausage.
Well, you can get whatever you want. I don't know what they put in this. It looks like sausage and maybe some ham and obviously some cheese.
Almost looks like a meat lover's kind of.
But you can put whatever you want.
Right,
We just basically build your own omelet. So you want onions, peppers, et cetera, et cetera. So, but we dress the eggs up a little bit here to give them a little extra flavor. And I can't tell you what we do to them. So.
Well, that's good. Don't tell me. I just like to eat it. I know that's usually what I get here is I get ham, bacon, and sausage omelet.
Well, that's pretty close
So
to what you normally order.
that's pretty much. And then obviously you got a burger.
Yeah. So this is our bonfire burger. It's got grilled jalapenos on it, and then we've got our bonfire sauce, which is a little bit of a spicy concoction that we made in house. So this is one of our famous burgers, our most popular burgers, along with our Magnolia burger. Our Magnolia burger, we actually put so much cheddar cheese on the burger when we're grilling it that it flows over onto the griddle and it creates a skirt of cheese, so you can't even see the burger. And then we have we in-house, we call it sweet thang sauce. It's kind of a tangy barbecue sauce that we put on it. So
I'll tell you what, that burger sounds good with the cheese melting around.
Yeah.
That's the crust.
hey, Mike, can we do one?
Absolutely, I'll have it right up for you guys.
That'd be great.
Okay, so you're back in the wine business.
Yeah.
So the guy says, "Hey, why don't you come work for us?"
Yes.
You become a stalker,
Right.
And then what's next?
So then I got a sales territory. The guy who got me the job started getting kicked out of accounts, and so I started picking up more prominent accounts, more higher volume accounts. Picked up some grocery stores, and then I started managing the grocery territory in in Bryan College Station Market.
So that was your territory?
Yeah. And I was always.
So this is like a wine broker.
This is a wine distributor
wines from everybody.
Wine distributor, so local distributor, yeah.
And then they're selling to restaurants, grocery
stores, liquor stores, etc. Yeah. I got promoted about two and a half years in to field manager, district sales manager is what it's called. It's the first level manager, and then about 2 years later, they asked me to move to Houston, and I took over the higher profile territory, one of the higher profile territories here in Houston as a district manager. Continued to do that as the wine business evolved. There were some changes and some growth, and then I went to work for the company that is now RNDC, which is Republic National Distributing Company, and they're the second largest distributor in the country. But
so obviously you were aerospace, then decided to do business. Mm-hmm. You're working in retail. This guy comes and says, "Hey, we want you to come be part of this wine distribution." You don't really know wine that much.
I didn't know anything about wine. That was a necessity. I needed a good paying job because I had family to support.
So it was just like on the job training.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or did they put you through some kind of class?
Well, the distributor I worked for was the Gallo distributor here, and at the time, Gallo was the largest wine producer in the world, and Gallo had and still has the best training in the industry. So I went through the Gallo training, which was significant. It's funny because Gallo has done an amazing job in helping to develop the wine industry, and it all started out with cheap wine, inexpensive wine. So they kind of got this tarnished reputation, if you will. It's not the same now. They've actually are cultivating a lot of higher end brands, but they are the best. The best at training, the best at networking. They would hire people out of college and they would place them inside distributors, and then the Gallo local field marketing rep would bring those people along. So the training through that process was excellent. But what's great about the wine business, at least what it was when I was in it, is it's all about desire. If you have a desire to win, then you can build a very nice career for yourself. And I had some opportunities.
How long did you do it for?
About 32 years. I was in the wine business for 32 years.
What was your last position there?
VP of sales for national supplier. So I worked in the distributor network for about 15 or 16 years, and then I moved over to the supplier in the network. So the supplier is importers, wineries, national sales and marketing companies, that type of thing. So I moved over and really almost immediately moved into kind of like national positions.
So now you're talking to the wineries. So
correct.
In the first part of your career, you were selling from a distributor wines that they bought to stores, etc.
Correct.
Now you move to the company that is buying from the wineries.
Right, or the wineries themselves. We're either representing the wineries themselves, and then our job is to sell to the distributors and sell programs into the distributors. And in addition to that, when I was...
that same thing happened to me in the automotive industry.
Really?
So I was working for a distributor, then got hired by the manufacturer of the distributor.
There you go.
But it's not about me, but I just thought it was cool that it was literally almost the same way, and it was about halfway through my career.
We used to have this conversation, when you're selling wine at the retail level, it's not all the fluff like it is when you sell it to restaurants.
Right.
But the difference is when you're selling at the retail level, you're selling a much more significant volume. And we always had this saying in-house, because the fine wine people used to call us grocery slugs, and we say, well, you get to do what you do because of what we do. We're the ones that are paying the bills. We're the ones keeping the doors open and the lights on. So it was always funny about that. But we used to talk about it, especially early on in my career, when you're really, really busy and you have so much work to do, and it's kind of wearing. And we always, people that I've worked with or people in the industry like the Pepsi guys, et cetera, we always had this conversation. Selling wine in a grocery store is no different than selling green beans or paper towels, but it's a heck of a lot more interesting. So I enjoyed the career. I mean, I had great opportunity. When I was at the distributor, I had an opportunity to spearhead the development of a field called category management that wasn't being done in wine. It's basically every retailer now does all their business via category management. It's just a matter of collecting data and trying to identify sales trends, and then setting the shelves and setting the wine plan and what have you based on who the customer is. And so, and then my mathematical background, that and learning category management really launched my career on the supplier level, because I understood the concepts, the mathematical concepts. I understood,
forecasting, inventory,
correct, margins and such. And then I also knew how to sell. And it was when I was managing the department. I managed the category management department at Republic, and I always had this question, or at least early on, I had the question: do I hire technical people that can mine the data and teach them how to sell, or do I hire salespeople and teach them the technical piece of it? And I found that the technical people had a hard time getting to a conclusion and making the presentation. They didn't know what was enough data. So the sales guys kind of understood that better, and I understood that. So I started, making national account calls, Costco, Kroger, et cetera, at the national level. And my approach was significantly different. It was more of, hey, here's what the data is showing. If you do this, this is what's going to happen. I think if we do this is what's going to happen. I think this is what we should do. And I had a lot of success there approaching it from that perspective, as opposed to, hey, here's my wine, here's my bottle, here's my label. This stuff's really good. Yeah. So there's a patty down there underneath there. It's a sloppy burger, but sure tasty. So. And so the supplier side was great for me. And I had a lot of mentors all through my career, really, quite frankly, from my youth
That's
up.
so important. And I'm going to talk to you a little about that in a minute. But
Okay.
mentors are important.
Absolutely.
I mean, they're really the college, the university.
Correct. Yeah.
That leave the next generation to do what they're supposed to do. And I think also teach us, right? I had great mentors to be mentors for the next.
That's important to me.
It's legacy building.
Yeah. Michael and I are actually going through an exercise right now. One of my favorite leadership authors is John Maxwell, and we're going through his book, The 5 Levels of Leadership. And in that book, it talks specifically about if you get to level 4 or level 5, that means you're bringing people along with you. And that's important for us. We have to develop people. But, I recognize more so now looking back, the people who have had a very positive influence in my life. At the time, I didn't know it so much. Some of them I did, but some of them I didn't. And as I look back, I think, man, I have fond memories of that. Man, that was impactful for me. And I know that I could not have gotten to where I am now without the people who have invested in my life. So it's extremely important for me to do that. I mentor at the high school in Conroe. I work with the Chamber of Commerce. I do some business mentoring there. And then, of course, we're very strong supporters of the community. That's very important to us too. Each one of my restaurants we do some kind of local community support
Outreach. Yeah. That's good. I mean, it's absolutely needed. So, okay, so you're doing the wine business. You're successful in it. Drinking a lot of wine, I imagine, and all these wineries inviting you to taste all their wines. Yeah. What is your favorite wine? Do you have a favorite wine?
Yeah, I would say Napa Cabernet. It's big, bold. It's got the difference between Cabernet from Napa and in other parts of the world is that there's a lot of fruit up front, but it's not sweet. It's a dry wine, but it's a very complex, big, bold wine. Now there are a lot of wines I like.
Where would you put Caymus? Is that?
Yeah, Caymus is a pretty good producer. Yeah.
I love Caymus.
Yeah, Caymus is a good.
And aren't they the one to do that number 61 or 60?
Yeah, I think so. And they also do Conundrum, which is a white wine blend that they do.
That's right.
That's really what put them on the map is the Conundrum. But Caymus is a great producer, and there are a lot.
Now I know who to call when I need some wine advice.
You absolutely call me. Yeah.
Because as far as I do it, is I pour it, I go, yeah, this tastes good. This is good.
That is it. And that's the thing about the wine business that I used to hate is that the wine snobs are sniffing and swirling and, this has got toasty oak and fig and, I get pencil shavings and this and that. I said, come
Berries.
on, guys. Yeah. I mean, if you like it, drink it. If you don't like it, don't drink it. So I do monthly wine dinners at my restaurant on Lake Conroe. And it's all about education. It's about finding the balance and helping people to understand the relationship between wine and food. One of the first trips I took in the wine business was out to a winery in California, and one of the first things that we did is we did a food and wine pairing tasting. So we had 6 wines, 6 foods, and we were encouraged to try each wine with each food and to pay attention to how the wine, if it's a different wine, how it changes the food, how the food changes the wine, just really to understand the relationship between food and wine. It was extremely educational for me. Unfortunately, here in the United States, we don't grow up drinking wine like they do in Europe. So people have to learn, what makes sense, what pairs well, and so that's really my focus on the wine dinners I do, is to try to help people understand. Okay, this white wine doesn't necessarily go with every kind of food. What type of food does it go with?
And when you say that, like I've been in Italy, particularly Italy, where you're eating something, and they'll say, "Do you want some wine?" And you say yes. They don't give you a wine menu. At least some of the places I've gone to will. Some of the fancy ones will. But like if you're eating in Venice, in a hole in the wall, and they ask, "Do you want wine?" and you say yes, they'll put a glass down. They'll bring wine and they'll pour it. Like I was never asked, what wine do you want?
Right.
I assume, and I may be wrong, it's either the only wine they have, or they just know that with this goes this.
That's what it is. They know that wine will enhance the flavor of the food, and vice versa. It has to be a balance.
Yeah.
So Cabernet is a big, bold red wine. Okay. You don't want to drink Cabernet with a salad, because the wine will just completely overpower the salad. So you got to find the balance. So they're the experts. They if they make a recommendation, you definitely go with it. This is one of the reasons why I love Italy and Europe in general. So we had a group of customers we had taken to Italy. There was a huge wine convention. They have it every year. It's called Vinitaly, and it's an enormous wine convention. And this is the HEB buying team, and they wanted to go source some wine. So we brought them out. And we had dinner, I think, the second night there. And it was probably a group about 8 or so. And we had, the company I worked for had local hospitality team. And so that team was at dinner with us. And we were having pasta, obviously. And one of the customers, HB customers, said, "Hey, can you pass the Parmesan cheese?" And she goes, "No, I don't think it's Parmesan. I think it's Grana." She picked it up. It was already grated in a container. And she picked it up and smelled it. She goes, "Oh, yeah, that's Grana." They know their food. They for us, Parmesan is grated hard cheese that comes from Italy. We don't know the difference between Parmesan.
It doesn't matter what pasta you're eating, just put Parmesan on it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's different. There's Grana, there's Parmesan, there's Asiago. They're different, and she was able to confirm that just by sniffing the cheese. And I thought, wow, they know their food and their wine here. And I don't know. I don't know how much the experience enhances the meals, but I've had some amazing meals in Italy.
No, but listen, I'm telling you, hole-in-the-wall places that the food is phenomenal, and I agree with you. Yeah. They know their food, and they just, a lot of times it's not a question of, like here you may go to a restaurant, I'm not, and it's Americanized, right? So you got to do it, but, do you want this? Do you not want this? Would you like this? Do you not want this? Blah, 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 blah. Like, let's just say an omelet, right? You may ask, what cheese do you want?
Yeah.
Right? Because everybody has their, but over there, they may know that with sausage,
correct,
you're getting this cheese.
Right.
They don't ask.
Right. Yeah.
It's now you may stop them and say, no, I don't want that cheese. I want this.
Right.
But there's a lot of assumptions in eating in small hole in the walls in Italy, particularly, where you're not going to get asked a question. Yeah. You're going to get served whatever it is.
We went to a restaurant with this buying group as well. It was a couple nights in. We were in the Verona area. Verona's a beautiful city as well, and HEB had a guy who was living in Europe 6 months out of the year, and he was buying and sourcing food, and then he would come over here and manage it, that type of thing. And so he kind of wanted to impress the bosses that were there from HEB, and so he took us to this restaurant. It was about 45 minutes outside of Verona. It was just like you described. It's a little house, hole in the wall. You walk in, and there's a room to the right, and there's a little old lady making pasta by hand. We laughed and we kind of kidded about it. Well, yeah, she's chained to the table. She can't move.
Yeah.
But she's been probably making pasta there for 50, 60 years. It was the most amazing pasta I ever had. And one of the dishes we had was a pumpkin pasta. It was I don't know what you call it, the type of pasta. It looked like a Tootsie Roll. It was rolled up and had pumpkin and other stuff in it. And I thought, pumpkin with pasta? I don't know. Oh my God, it was so good. And you could see the meat through the pasta, but the pasta held its consistency. It wouldn't come apart. It was amazing. So yes, there's amazing dining experiences, and that's the thing that I miss when I come back to the States, because it's not so much necessarily about the dining experience. It's about, can I wolf this down as quick as I can so I can get back to work,
right,
that type of thing.
Right.
So
no, they do dining as an experience.
Correct.
You're supposed to be not in a hurry.
Yep.
Enjoy, drink, talk, 100%. So. Okay, so let's fast forward a little bit. So you get through the wine business. How many years doing that?
32.
32. Mm-hmm. You decide to leave or retire.
Yep.
Where did you go? I'm going to open a restaurant.
So the reason I decided it was time for me to retire from the wine business, I was a hard study on leadership and organizational development and cultural development at companies, and I'm of the school that if you take good care of your staff, they'll take good care of your customers, and so I tried to instill that at one of the companies that I worked for. Michael, my director of operations, he and I worked there together, and I tried to instill that family, supportive cultural mindset there. And I really ran into a lot of brick walls with the ownership of the company. It was an Italian old company. And I had a buddy who was in Italy. He was Italian, but we became friends through the process of selling his wine. And I asked him, I said, what's up with that? He goes, yeah, in Italy, the companies think that the company's one entity and the leadership of the company's one entity, and then that's the staff or the employees are a completely different entity, and there's separation. And I struggled with that, and that's when I realized, it might be time for me to do something on my own, do my own company where I can establish the culture I wanted to put in place. And my wife at the time, we had sold some rental property, and we had some cash, and we wanted to invest into a retirement vehicle, income vehicle going into retirement. And her suggested, let's do a storage facility. And I said, no, I want to do a restaurant. I love to cook. I've always loved to cook, and I've always wanted to do a restaurant. So that's kind of how it's kind of happened. It's kind of how it happened.
Which one was the first one?
The Sweet Paris Creperie in the Woodlands was my first restaurant. And the reason we did that is severalfold. One, I knew how to cook, but I didn't know how to run a restaurant, and I wanted something that had a good business model. And this was a local chain, and they had a good model put together. And I went to visit one of their corporate stores in Houston. It was extremely busy, and I thought, okay, this could work for us. It's got the financials, it's got the model that we want. The other reason is because my wife at the time didn't do any cooking except for crepes. She made crepes for us about once a month in the morning. I struggle making crepes. I usually burn them, or they're either too thin or too runny. And so we both loved crepes, so we thought this is a perfect fit for us. So we stepped into it, and it was funny because there was two franchisees in front of us. The Sweet Paris corporate wanted us to look at another market, but that market was not ready. It was going to be probably 4 or 5 years before it was ready. And I'm like, well, I don't want to invest and just wait and sit on my laurels. So we told him, I said, hey, if this, the things with the Woodlands falls through, well, both of the two franchisees in front of us fell through, and we fell into that position and into that spot. And we've had really success right from the start. The Woodlands is the number one volume restaurant in the chain now, and there's about 15 or 16 stores now.
And how long you've had it now?
We opened in 2019, so 5 years.
5 years.
Okay. Almost 6 years. Yeah.
So after that, what was the second one?
Sweet Paris in Austin.
Okay.
We had success with the Woodlands, and I was having a blast, to be honest with you. Several people said, you're going to retire and you're going to open a restaurant, but I was having a blast, and I was looking for things to do. When I was in the wine business, I was traveling about 180,000 miles a year. You don't realize how much time and stress that puts on you. So, running a restaurant, me, was a piece of cake. And what was really great about it, really, what I enjoyed the most about it, is one is developing the relationship with staff, and two is developing relationships with my customers and the community and that type of thing. So I said, hey, we're having success. Let's do another one. And Sweet Paris as well. We're developing Austin. If you're interested in doing Austin, I said, yeah. So we did Austin, and we opened Austin in August of 2020, which was challenging, as I mentioned.
Because you said, hey, COVID and restaurants go together.
Yeah, well, we started, we started before COVID. We started construction in February, and then COVID hit in March.
Right.
And we were committed, and we had like 5 months to get open before we started paying rent. And so I talked to my contractor, and he's a good friend of mine. Through the process of building restaurants, he's become a good friend. And I say, hey, just pump the brakes a little bit. Let's just take this slow. We've got 5 months. And then even as we got closer to where we were supposed to start paying rent, I reached out to my landlord there. And there's in all leases, there's a force majeure clause. And so I exercised that. I said, we're not going to be able to get open by the time I have to start paying rent. I would like some consideration. So they worked with us on that. And we got open. And it was rough. And then once things started to open up, then
sure,
we had. And what was great about it was the support we got from the community, because our business in the Woodlands went from 100 miles an hour to 0 miles an hour. There was the first couple of weeks after COVID shut down, we were doing maybe $250 a week in revenue. It was terrible, and so we shifted. We at the time we didn't really encourage takeout or delivery because the crepes don't travel very well, but the Sweet Paris has really just got a beautiful, elegant look and feel, beautiful lighting package, the marble tables, etc. So we feel like the part of the experience is the ambiance, the dining experience itself. And so we had to shift. And we brought in 4 delivery companies. We started promoting to-go business. We got with the center and, asked if we could have, pick up parking spaces in front of our restaurant, and they obliged us. And we even started selling grocery items, like toilet paper and gloves, and like chicken and et cetera, because you couldn't find food, so people would come in and buy some stuff for us. And the first week of that was second week started to climb, and after about 2 weeks to 3 weeks of that, we got to where I could sustain my bank account and I could continue to pay my staff and keep the restaurant open, and it just continued to climb. And then as they started to open things up, people came back. I mean, like that. It was just it's very humbling.
Well, and it was kept in, right? Everybody was ready to go out and do something as well.
That's true.
You got to pivot, which you did because business and you obviously have a great culture and know how to turn, but you have to be able to pivot in situations like that, which you did. Yep. I have a friend of mine who's also been on the show, Joe Garza, who owns a bunch of Sonics and other restaurants as well. But Sonic had the model before COVID. So when COVID hit, they had it.
Yeah, they thrived. Yeah.
It was a drive-through.
Yeah.
It was a drive-through business. All the other businesses had to switch.
Yeah.
Right? But that particular one, not necessarily to give them a plug, but they had it, not knowing that was going to be the model.
Yeah.
Dunkin' Donuts switched. Everybody started switching, right? Everybody was drive-through, takeout. I remember during COVID, we were setting up a large dealership group, and they actually said, because the transportation industry was still open, right? We were excluded from everything because we were transportation. So dealerships were open, we were open. And this group calls us up, large group, one of the largest in Houston, says, all right, we want to switch to your company now.
Wow.
Because since we're slow, this is the perfect time.
Oh.
So 2 weeks after COVID hit and everything is shut down, we're setting up this major dealership group.
Yeah, nice.
And well, now we're hungry, right?
Right.
And so it's lunchtime and we're like, what are we going to do?
Right.
Right? And so we found a barbecue place that was open, drive-through. We all sat in the car and ate our barbecue, right?
Yeah.
So those that adapted, long story to say, those that adapted just found a way to make it.
And that's important, I think. It's important for young people to understand. It's important, obviously in business. And this is one of the things that I tell young people when I counsel them. You may think that the world cares about you. You may think that the world cares that you're not happy about this or happy about that. The world has absolutely no idea you even exist. You're even here. The world is spinning.
Right.
And you can either, be a victim from what's happening to you, or you can figure out a way to navigate through this world and get what you need out of it.
Hop on the carousel or the train and let's go.
Yep. And then take what you get out of this world and go do what makes you happy.
That's right.
That's
a very good point, because it's true. You can sit and cry and yell and scream all you want. The world is going to continue to move.
Right.
With or without you, it's going to continue to move. So you've got to make a decision. You're either going to join it or you're just going to sit back.
Or the train's going to leave you.
And that's it. Okay, so what's your third restaurant?
This one, Treehouse Cafe.
Treehouse?
Yeah. So when when I opened the Sweet Paris in Austin, we weren't making money. We were losing money, and I needed to find something I felt like would generate some cash flow for me. And the previous owners here were really done. They didn't want to be doing the restaurant business anymore. And it took them a little while to sell it. Part of the problem is that they didn't really maintain the restaurant very well through that process. They kind of let everything grow up. So I thought, okay, this is kind of a unique looking, vibe and feel. And I came in during lunch a couple times, and we got there's people in here in the parking lot. It's full.
It's got a tree.
Yeah, is it a tree?
It's got a real tree.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I thought, okay, well, I feel like we can scale it up. We can get open. They weren't open on weekends. When in the restaurant business, you do 50% of your volume on the weekends. I said, at the very least, just opening on weekends is going to, help us get where we need to be financially. And so that's the reason why I bought this place. And at the same time, as I was negotiating with the owners here to buy this place, the landlord for my restaurant in Conroe on Montgomery,
which is Hunger
Crush Cafe.
Right.
Yeah, it's in Water Point Marina there,
on the lake.
On the lake between Fajita Jack's and Monty's. Most people know Fajita Jack's. He came to me at Sweet Paris and said, "Hey, I would like for you to open a Sweet Paris out in at the marina." At the time, Sweet Paris is a little challenging to deal with. They were growing and learning, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to do another Sweet Paris. Plus, they have very high expectations of their co-tenants, their neighbors, and I didn't think that. I pretty much knew Sweet Paris would not approve that location. So he told me, he said, "Well, okay, if you want to do a different concept, I'm okay with that too. I just would like for you to do breakfast." He said, "But I have a restaurant that's moving across the parking lot. They're building out a new section of the center, and they're leaving pretty much everything behind. And so they left all their furniture, they left the kitchen equipment and such. And I thought, okay, this is kind of an opportunity. I probably ought to jump on it. The timing wasn't great because I was in the process of buying this place, but I said, okay, we'll do it. The advantage is that I got most of their kitchen equipment. Some of it I had to replace, but I mean, that was a significant expense. It has probably a $75,000 vent hood that we inherited, obviously. I took some of the furniture and refinished it, and it came out looking nice. And then I bought some other furniture to support it, and really dressed up the restaurant, lightened it up, and created I think really a nice environment on the lake. We have a beautiful patio that overlooks the lake, and so
yeah, I've ate there at the patio overlooking the lake, actually.
Yeah. That's a very community-driven restaurant. My desire there was to have it be kind of a focal point, if you will, a place where people come and gather. So, we did things like we brought a local artist in to do a mural for us, and the mural incorporates all kinds of concepts of Lake Conroe. So, so that was kind of cool. And then we had a very long what we call the community table. I think it seats 12, and we encourage parties to sit together and talk to each other. Sometimes we have table tents out that say no phone zone, talk to your neighbor, that type of thing. We support the Montgomery County Food Bank there. We have an item on our menu called Hunger Board, and it's a community style meal for two. It comes out on our charcuterie board, and you enjoy it with a partner. And then we donate the equivalent of 2 meals to the Montgomery County Food Bank for every one of those that we sell. So it's really, we support local youth community.
Well, I think that's a great way, and we're going to enjoy all this food here, as well. But to end the show, and you've been an incredible guest, I think what you're talking about now is a great way to end it, which is very important. Not everybody does it. Mm-hmm. Why is it important for you to give back?
Well, I came from humble beginnings. I lost my dad when I was 10. My mother was an alcoholic. I had no money. I moved out of the house when I was 17. I probably had $50 to my name. I worked very, very hard to have success, but I recognized that the success would not have happened without the support of my community at the time. And I was talking with my daughter about this the other day. I was, talking to her about the people who I used to hang out with as a kid, the people who I were friends with as a kid, all had very solid family lives. dad and mom home, the brothers and sisters. And that's who I used to hang out with because I didn't have that at home. And these people all took me into their home and welcomed me and took care of me. My best friend in high school, his dad would, if I had car trouble, he would come get me, come help me, fix it, that type of thing. And then as I moved into business, I had business mentors and people who invested in me. So for me, it does not feel right to take money from the community by way of doing business and not give back to and support the community. I hate when big companies, big businesses pull money out of a community and it goes elsewhere. I want the money to stay here in this community. I want to support this community. I love Montgomery County. We moved up here in 2015 from Katy, and at the time when we first got in the restaurant business, that was 2018. When we opened in 2019, we thought we might retire in the Austin area. My granddaughter lives there. My stepdaughter lives there, and we thought, okay, we're going to open a restaurant in Austin. Maybe we'll retire there. But we just didn't align with the people and the culture and such.
It's not Montgomery County.
No, I fell in love with Montgomery County. I love the people here.
I love it.
Yeah, there's just such great people. So I believe it's really, maybe it's not, obligation is not the word, but it is my responsibility to be a contributing, supporting member of this community. So
yeah, I don't know and where you necessarily are in the faith journey, but I believe this, and I've said this before: we're distributors of God's wealth. Right. I believe that God blesses people to bless others. Mm-hmm. I believe in capitalism, but I don't believe in greediness.
Correct. Yeah. That's we can get into that political conversation about that as well, but that's how I feel as well. Money just magnifies people, and it magnifies who they were when they didn't have money.
Correct.
And I want people to look at me and think, man, it's been great having him in the community. He's enriched the community. He's enriched my life, if you will. When I interact with people, that type of thing. That's what I want. That's what I want my legacy to be.
Yeah, they're never going to talk about how much money you have in the bank. Mm-hmm. There was a pastor that preached at our church not so long ago, and he said that he's done 100 and something funerals. Every funeral, he gets the families together and says, "Hey, tell me something about the person that passed away." He goes, "In all the funerals I've done, nobody ever said, 'Hey, look at the bank account.'" Right? They all talk about that, the legacy, right? He gave back. He was part of the community. Mm-hmm. He helped this guy or helped that guy. Yeah. And I knew that for you, giving back was important, and I thought it was a great way to end it, because I think it's important. I think more people have to realize that we're kind of in this together.
Absolutely.
Right? Yeah. I come from Cuba. I don't believe in socialism. I don't believe in communism. I believe in capitalism. Mm-hmm. But capitalism is not non-compassion.
Correct.
Right? Capitalism is compassion.
Right.
Given opportunities, given job, mentoring, teaching, opening doors, leading people for them to work hard and accomplish certain things, and then helping those that are in need.
Yeah, it's unfortunate when I see, and I guess it's more so young people, their hate for capitalism. When I see that, and I'm like, well, no, you hate these big organizations, these big companies that are just raping the land and taking the money for themselves, and these people that are making, hundreds of millions of dollars a year. I get it. I don't like that either. But what is good about organizations like, for example, Kroger or Exxon, is they employ a lot of people, and they give a lot of people an opportunity to carve out a living. And so you got to look at it from, I guess, what it does for
families.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And buys houses, and you bought houses, and the local brick guy that put the brick on your house, he's a local guy, and he's got a family. He's got to put. The young people just don't realize that trickle down effect. Corporations have a place, right? And they employ a lot of people. And there are some good corporations out there that give people the opportunity to be independent.
Yep.
And give back. Because you can be a corporation and give back anyway.
Absolutely.
Right? Obviously, the smaller business, America's made up of small business.
Correct.
And small business are the heart of America.
I agree.
Because mainly they give back to the community and they care about the community.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, Michael, thank you for being on the show.
My pleasure.
What a great place.
Thank you.
Love it.
Thank you.
I can't wait to go to the cars thing and the wine thing.
Well, we're doing it this Saturday, the cars, if you want to come on out. So we'll have a few cars. But
thanks. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you for listening to Wheels, Deals, and Meals, your main source for all things good and fun, business, food, and cars. If you like this episode, make sure to rate us and subscribe. If you would like to be a guest on our show, please leave a message at the link below. Till next time, happy eating!